Alright, hello people, I'm the dude, and this is my rant review for the movie The Numbers Station. John Cusack movie. Who the hell doesn't love John Cusack? The short version, it was an interesting premise and it could have worked. The actors were good. The script seemed decent, although it didn't seem to really go anywhere other than one note, which I'll get into in a minute. Overall, I think it failed in the execution. To be honest, I don't think it was anyone's fault per se. Maybe the director, but something broke and snapped off and wasn't where it was, supposed to be. some component. The long version, the basic story is extremely simple. It's that same old, like CIA agent going, well, not in this case rogue, but semi-rogue, breaking his programming, not doing what he's supposed to, that kind of thing, and the consequences that leads to. The two leads, John Cusack and Malin Ackerman, they're both good, but Cusack is definitely the worse off here. His character has nowhere to go. His basic premise is that he doesn't want to kill people anymore because killing people is bad. And the movie keeps reinforcing that point. In the very beginning, his character turns from CIA killing machine into, killer with a conscience. Because he doesn't want to kill this kid. He calls her a kid. She looks like she's 20-something, but whatever. He doesn't want to kill her because she's innocent. And even though he's killed plenty of innocents before, this one's different, or something like that. I don't know. Luckily his boss is there, and his boss finishes the job for him. And instead of kicking him out of the agency, which apparently equates to death, he decides to give him this, Alaska posting, basically. Somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. It's not actually Alaska, but it ends up being in England. But they're sticking him on an island, basically, to see if he can get back on the horse. And that's where he meets Malin Ackerman. The idea is that he's there to, well, in theory, guard the outpost. She's there to run these specialized numbers, to read. She's like some kind of cryptographer, and she can read the numbers and interpret them and turn them into, I guess, English language, and then turn them back and send out orders. So while she's running the numbers, he's basically there babysitting her. He's a glorified babysitter. Her character ends up, like wide-eyed, optimistic about life and where she is and why she's there and all this stuff. And at the end of the movie, she's going from like happy about her place in existence to questioning everything, basically. Is she doing the right thing? Who are the people she's working for? Is she wasting her life? Is she part of the evil machine? Whatever. Her character's more interesting because she has growth. She learns things throughout the movie about herself and, her situation and all that. Things she didn't already know. Whereas Cusack, he's already got everything figured out. He's not learning anything. He knew what he was doing was wrong the whole time. He knew that killing people was wrong. It's not like he had some big revelation. He just finally jumped on the bandwagon, so to speak. There were no big revelations for him. Throughout the movie, he gets phone calls over this supposedly secure line, and they want him to kill Ackerman, to kill the code. What do they call it? The cryptographer. To kill the cryptographer, his co-star, basically. And what he doesn't know at the time is the bad guys, whoever the hell they are, they have cracked into the lines, and they're the ones that he's talking to. So they're the ones telling him to kill his whatever, the person he's supposed to be protecting. And that's his conundrum. That's his one real choice throughout the entire movie. Will he kill Ackerman or not? Will he follow his orders and, get back in the saddle and be the Black Ops CIA killing machine that he's supposed to be? The well-oiled machine that he's supposed to be. He decides, spoilers, not to. He decides to save her because he's a changed man or whatever, even though apparently he's killed hundreds and hundreds of people over the course of his career. He's got to draw the line. So he decides not to kill her, and then his character again becomes one note. He's just there doing what he's supposed to do as a CIA agent until the very end. And then he kind of convinces his ex-boss not to kill them both. But his character's just, I don't know, it's not very interesting. Her character's not terribly interesting either, but it's his suffers by comparison. Let's put it that way. The person that steals the show is, what is his name? Richard Brake. Richard Brake is he's the leader of the bad guy faction. Like I said, I don't know who they are. They're there to break in to feed their own information into the code, into the broadcast. Because the broadcast itself sends out orders to the agents across England. And he wants to send his own orders out, basically. It turns out that he wants to kill all of the heads of the CIA, which you'd think it'd be odd. Why would they target people manning a station in England if they want to kill people in America? Because you wouldn't think that literally all of the CIA heads would be in England. Unless there's some kind of, I don't know, meeting or something. I have no idea, but you'd think they'd all be in America, right? So why do you hijack a broadcast station in England? I don't know. I have no idea. But the leader, Richard Brake, he's kind of like this police negotiator, but in reverse. Whereas you send in a police negotiator to talk people down so they don't kill themselves or do something crazy or kill the hostages, he uses the same kind of psychology to talk this lady into giving up her gun so he can get her to do what he wants and then murder her. Basically, he sounds like a police negotiator, right? He's literally using psychology to trick her, to confuse her, to get her to put the gun down, just so he can have his way with her. Basically, it was a very interesting scene, and he was literally the best character in the entire movie. He seemed to be like the only character in the movie that was actually having fun. Cusack definitely wasn't. But he's not around very long, and his character only gets a few scenes, and it's too bad. If he was actually the real villain of the movie, you could have something to point to. Something a bright spot. The rest of the movie, it's just killing is bad. That's the message. I mean, in the beginning, he doesn't want to kill the kid, the 20-year-old kid, and that's where he has his epiphany that killing is bad. Throughout the movie, he's explaining to Ackerman what he really is, what she's involved in, because she doesn't actually know who he is, how he's a CIA killing machine and all this stuff. And again, killing is bad. And then at the end of the movie, he has a chat with one of the enemy agents, who turns out to be an ex-CIA agent who is jaded, just as jaded as Cusack is. In fact, you get the feeling that Cusack could have been that guy, given enough time. But he's the one that's had the idea to send out the orders to kill off the heads of the CIA. And apparently that's going to change the country overnight or something like that. Like, they wouldn't just replace these people. Like, they don't already have, people coming up the ranks to replace them as we speak. That would just be there a little bit earlier. But apparently this is supposed to change the world. So Cusack and him are having, their little discussion. And you can tell that Cusack's buying into it. The whole, kill off the sea. They're the ones that screwed us over and ruined our lives and all this stuff. That kind of thing. But the end message is that what they've been doing, what they've been forced to do, is kill people, and killing is bad. So that's really the whole message of the entire movie, that killing is bad. And it's the whole one note of Cusack's character, too. Yeah, he kind of has this thing with Ackerman, but it's very secondary. And he's not bringing much to that relationship, honestly. Other than spelling out the obvious for her, he's not interacting with her in any real way. You're supposed to believe that they have some kind of romantic connection. Wasn't buying it at all. John Cusack wasn't selling it, and I wasn't buying it, so I don't know. I guess I can kind of sympathize with him, even though he probably is evil. But you have to in this movie, because Cusack is so damn boring. There's nothing about his character that's interesting, so you gotta latch on to everyone else. You have to. Ackerman, Brake, Cunningham, everyone. You have to. Because Cusack is not carrying this movie. He's not. It's just the way it is. But yeah, it's another spy, CIA, Black Ops type thriller. And I think the gun battles were very short and felt very long because there really wasn't much happening. And then all the rest of the movie was really long and felt really short because you weren't getting enough character building or information, Everything was backwards in this movie. It didn't seem like anything clicked. I don't know what to say. So yeah, I don't recommend it at all. which is sad because usually I'd recommend pretty much any John Cusack movie. But there's very few I've watched of his where he wasn't at least good, let alone great. He has this thing where he plays awkward better than anyone else, right? Kind of like Nicolas Cage and Jim Carrey, and they do the crazy better than anyone else, right? Well, he does awkward better than anyone else. He's been doing it since the, early 80s or whatever? I mean, that's his thing. He's mastered it at this point. And there was no awkward here. It was just a straight-laced performance. And he's not good at it. I'm sorry, he's not. He needs to stick with what he... I mean, if he wants to be a killer, it should be Grosse Pointe Blank, where it's all awkward moments with his ex-girlfriend, and him trying to explain to her why he did what he did, and the craziness that ensues with who's the bad guy? I want to say John Candy, but it's not John Candy. Yes, IMDb. By the way, a much better movie. Dan Aykroyd. There we go. With Dan Aykroyd's character and how they used to know each other and their crazy quips and one-liners versus each other while they're actually in a duel to the death. One of them is gonna die, but the craziness that ensues. I mean, he plays that amazingly well, better than anyone else. Like High Fidelity, the wackiness between him and all his exes, and all the weird monologues he goes on about, like life and records and mixtapes and all that crap. I mean, he does that better than anyone else, and there was none of that here. If you're looking for that, you need to watch a different John Cusack movie, bottom line. But yeah, don't recommend it. 2 thumbs down. No real redeeming qualities other than Richard Brake. Like I said, his one performance where he's trying to talk the gun out of the girl's hand was pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie, I like that quite a bit. It's just too bad he wasn't around much longer. He actually ends up dying off screen just after that scene. You don't even get a big climactic ending for him. He literally dies off screen, fighting a secondary character. So, what can you do? Rant review, the Numbers Station. I'll see you guys next time. Overall, I think it failed in the execution, to be honest. I don't think it was anyone's fault, per se. Maybe the director, but something broke and snapped off and wasn't where it was, supposed to be. some component. The long version, the basic story is extremely simple. It's that same old, like CIA agent going, well, not want to kill people anymore because killing people is bad. And the movie keeps reinforcing that point. In the very beginning, his character turns from CIA killing machine into, killer with a conscience. Because he doesn't want to kill this kid. He calls her a kid. She looks like she's 20-something, but whatever. He doesn't want to kill her because she's innocent. And even though he's, in this case, rogue, but semi-rogue, breaking his programming, not doing what he's supposed to, that kind of thing, and the consequences that leads to. The 2 leads, John Cusack and Malin Ackerman, they're both good, but Cusack is definitely the worse off here. His character has nowhere to go. His basic premise is that he doesn't... Alright, hello people, I'm the dude, and this is my rant review for the movie The Numbers Station. John Cusack movie. Who the hell doesn't love John Cusack? The short version, it was an interesting premise and it could have worked. The actors were good. The script seemed decent, although it didn't seem to really go anywhere other than one note, which I'll get into in a minute. Killed plenty of innocents before. This one's different, or something like that. I don't know. Luckily his boss is there and his boss finishes the job for him. And instead of kicking him out of the agency, which apparently equates to death, he decides to give him this, Alaska posting, basically. Somewhere out in the middle of nowhere. It's not actually Alaska, but it ends up being in England. But they're sticking him on an island, basically, to see if he